Welcome back. The leaked draft opinion suggesting the Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade is prompting protests here and across the country. If the court overturns the landmark 1973 ruling, decisions about abortion access get kicked back to the states. We are back with our political roundtable. Massachusetts in 2020 passed the Roe Act, which protects abortion rights in the Commonwealth. But do lawmakers here need to do more?
We can't be complacent here.
No.
You know, yes, the Roe Act was passed. Abortion will be protected here, but I'm really concerned about access to care. What's going to happen is that when Roe gets overturned, you know, as many as 26 other states will have trigger laws. They'll ban or severely restrict abortion. And where will all those women go? A lot of them will be coming to Massachusetts. And that has an impact on the residents here, because then now Massachusetts women can't get their appointments for abortion. And so lawmakers, you know, beyond looking at the law, they need to think about money, budgets. Do they need to, you know, I think there is some money, but the state of New York, I think the governor was like almost $30 million, I think, to shore up the abortion care providers and the system, and to help women come here, come to New York. But I think in Massachusetts, it's only $500,000, the budget.
What effect could the Supreme Court decision have on abortion access for low-income women of color, and what are the repercussions if low-income women and women of color are not able to have access to abortions?
Well, one of the things I want to say, and I wrote about this in an op-ed I did in the Herald, and that is we've got to think all women. I'm sorry, we've got to think all women, because it's going to count for us all to be at the table. But of course it's going to hurt low-income women more than it will hurt suburban women who have the
wherewithal and the connections
to get one. We've had, this is the thing that bothers me the most, we've had 50 years to tighten this up, and there were many areas that we could have many times. Obama, there were many times when we could have done it. And so I'm like, we're at the last minute here, and we've got Clarence Thomas, for Christ's sakes, as the poster boy for speaking about this. Now, it's not done yet, so I don't think people should, you know, go into crisis mode, even though I think that we need to get our act together, even here in Massachusetts. Nancy Gertner, one of my favorite people, did a piece in the Boston Globe today that says, we're not really that safe in Massachusetts. I think everybody should read it. She and John Reinstein of the ACLU. But I do believe that John Roberts should handle this better in terms of coming to a more moderate stance on this, and I think we need to do something with the Supreme Court. They're acting all in secrecy all the time,
except for this leak.
Thank you. I believe they leaked it.
Let's put Professor Jimenez on the spot as the only man on the panel. We'll have him speak. We'll have him speak globally for all men. You know, I think one of the things that is most galling about this is that it seems to be men that are managing the conversation around this.
Yeah, speaking for my entire sex, I mean, obviously it's a horrible thing, you know, that men are the ones making the decisions. But I actually want to point out, we were just having a conversation about the male perspective, and the fact is a lot of men think that this is not going to affect them, but it most definitely will, especially if they are married or have partners that are lower income. This is going to affect their lives, and they're not thinking about it. That's a mistake, which is part of the reason why it's so important that people are aware of this. But the other thing is, when you're talking about Supreme Court and the 50 years and so on, there is no guarantee that if this goes down, they don't go for a federal ban. There is no guarantee about that at all. And I would imagine that that's what's going to happen.
Shirley?
I was going to say, you know, I feel like all my women friends, this is all we're talking about, right? Reproductive rights. But you don't hear men talking about it. And that's a big problem. Men have to be part of this conversation, realize that if women don't have the right to an abortion, it has an impact on not just women, but men in their lives. You know, from an economic perspective, I mean, this can really set back women.
All families, yeah.
All women in particular, families, but women who've been on a career track. You know, if you're unable to control when you want a baby, or when you're ready to have a baby, I mean, that will destroy pay equity, you know, efforts and women's advancement in the workplace. And this is why employers, even in Massachusetts, have to think about the impact, to have to kind of get off the sidelines
Yes, and
and
get
help women with access, and also weigh in on the politics of Roe v. Wade.
Okay, we're back with a closer look at some of the big issues on the local political scene. That's next on Cityline.